Hello and welcome back to the Gold Newsletter channel. My name is Kai Hoffmann. I'm the @JR Mining Guy over on X, and together with our very good friend Brien Lundin, I'm the host of the Gold Newsletter channel. Really appreciate you joining us here for a company update from Trifecta Gold. Before I get into specifics, I'm hugely conflicted. I'm a director of the company. I own options, I own shares, and I own warrants. So whatever we discuss here, take it with a lot of salt. I'm hugely biased. And just keep that in mind, just in all fairness and transparency here. So I might be asking leading questions or questions I might know the answer to, so keep that in mind when Richard answers. So really want to get that out of the way. And I already gave away the name. It's Richard Drechsler. He's the president and CEO of Trifecta Gold who's joining us. And we'll discuss the Mount Hinton project. What did we do in 2024? What's potentially on the horizon for 2025? And the stock has seen quite a bit of activity in recent weeks. We need to address that as well. What's driving that? And where's the excitement coming from? So obviously there's excitement around Trifecta, and we'll need to discuss and address that. Hit that like and subscribe button if you like our channel, if you like our conversations. Helps us out tremendously, and we do appreciate that. Now, Richard, it's great to have you on the program. Disclaimer and everything out of the way. It's good to see you again. I'm not going to say Happy New Year because we saw each other and all of that before, but it's good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on the channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard, we need to catch up a little bit and maybe summarize a bit the Trifecta Gold story. It's gotten a little quiet, of course, over Christmas period, the last few weeks here, but the stock has shown signs of life in the last 2 weeks approximately. But before we get to the here and now, let's talk about the past. Let's talk about 2024 and what we learned from the season up in the Yukon. Can you summarize that for us, Richard?
Yeah, sure. So 2024 was a transformational year for Trifecta. I mean, we spent the first half of the year basically shifting our focus from Nevada to Yukon. So we were acquiring a large package of projects from Strategic Metals in the Tombstone Gold Belt. And so we're anchored by the Mount Hinton project, which is directly adjacent to Hecla's Keno Hill operations. And then on the eastern end, near Fireweed Zinc's projects, we've got the Rye. So the two bookends, and then we've got 9 other targets that fill that belt in between the two that are highly prospective. We're looking for these reduced intrusion related gold systems that Snowline has drilled into a tier 1 type deposit at the Rogue, the Valley discovery. And then on the other end of us, we've got Sitka Gold, who's drilling similar deposits, same belt, same age rocks, and they're also putting together a good resource at their RC project. Other operators in the district, would have included Victoria Gold, who was previously operating on a similar type deposit. And then we've got Banyan, who's also a neighbor to us, that has a gold deposit developed in the Hornfels Oriole above one of these intrusions. So huge amount of gold in the district, and that's really what spurred Trifecta doing a restructuring in order to acquire these targets. And so what we did when we first got on the ground in 2024 is we're looking to advance some of these intrusion-related targets to the drill-ready stage. And so we did that on a couple of our targets. The Mount Hinton, for example, we flew a ZTEM survey that identified a big mag feature with a coincident resistivity anomaly that had the same geophysical signature as other reduced intrusions in the district. And so that really changed the story at Mount Hinton, because historically it was known as sort of the direct extension of Keno Hill's high-grade vein system, but we were in the much more gold-rich part of the system. And so we thought those were all coming off of a much larger target. And it seems like in 2024, we've actually found that target. So prospecting discovery that was the result of following up a geophysical survey has given us a priority drill target for a bulk tonnage system at Mount Hinton to complement the veins, which are quite significant in their own right.
Yeah, we need to address that. Like, let's talk about the veins and it's like the drill targets itself. Like, let's talk about the vein system. It's there. It's quite exciting. Can you summarize that? Like, what's the size of the prize here, and what are we talking about? I know forward-looking statements here. We got to be a bit careful of what that really means. But what's the size of the prize there, Richard?
Well, yeah, I mean, by the type of measurements we've been looking at, given the strike and sort of vertical extent that we found some of these veins over, you can easily hand wave in the multi-million ounces of gold in these targets. And we're in a basin where the placer miners that are mining at the mouth of the creek are being incredibly successful. And so all that visible gold that they're mining, those coarse nuggets, are coming out of the veins that we have on the Mount Hinton. And given the grades we see at surface, lots of chip samples north of 100 grams per ton, these ore shoots could be incredibly rich. So you wouldn't need to have, the full kilometer of strike length to be mineralized to have, a significant gold endowment there. And so when we look at some of the drill hits and surface samples that we have at the southwest zone, like if you were to look at 250 meter by 250 meter panel, and meter and a half is sort of where we've got a lot of the surface samples. We had a 43 gram intersect over a meter and a half in one of the drill holes. So for using that meter and a half, which is coincidentally Hecla's minimum mining width, around that ounce per ton, which is on the low range of a lot of our samples, you're up around half of the gold endowment just in that 250 by 250 area. That would be half the gold endowment that Hecla would have on a gold equivalent basis. I mean, they came out with numbers there last week saying they had 67 million ounces of silver. That equates to about 750,000 ounces of gold. And so, yeah, I mean, if we've got these multi-million ounce gold targets in our veins, chances of us finding some similar ore shoots to what they're mining at Hecla, I think would be quite high probability of doing that, based on our existing sampling. And given the grades, they don't have to, like I said, they don't have to extend for that full kilometer. You're not going to have ore over that whole kilometer length. But if 10 to 20% of that plane of the vein makes ore, well, you're still talking very significant numbers of ounces of gold. And the fact that gold's now trading over 4,000 Canadian, I think that was lends to the fact of why we've started to get some market traction. I mean, we're still sub $10 million market cap, and we're out there looking for deposits that would have $1 billion plus value to them. And so we are at the early stage in terms of we don't have a resource defined yet, whereas some of our neighbors already have defined resources. But so that's basically the stage that we're at. We're going to go out and we're going to prove the size potential on some of these structures this summer on the vein structures. We're also going to drill a few holes into the reduced intrusion target that we identified in the valley. That could be the whole source of the gold system at Hinton and Keno. That's what we've been hypothesizing for the last number of years. So that's the type of target that you can build ounces quite quickly, given they're just a style of mineralization. It's more of a bulk tonnage than a vein target. So yeah, a couple big targets on Hinton, big sizes or big system, obviously. I mean, there's active mines all over the project. It's one where a lot of these veins were actually discovered back in the 70s and 80s, but the fact that they were so rich in gold and with lower silver, they weren't of interest just based on metal pricing. And now with 90 to 1 gold to silver ratio and the pricing that we're seeing now, I mean, obviously that gold carries a lot larger dollar value than it would have historically, and that's really how we ended up with the project. Otherwise, it would probably be part of the Hecla package already.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like there's so many low-hanging fruits as well. And let's talk about Valley itself. Like when you say it's a source potentially for Keno Hill as well, like what does that mean? Like, can you elaborate just on that a little bit without getting too technical, Richard? Like, why is that significant?
Sure. So what we see in these intrusion-related models is the metal is typically zoned out from central pluton. And so as you move out from where you'd have, say, sheeted veining within a pluton, you go out a little bit further and you get gold and arsenic veins, and then you go out a little bit further and you get lead zinc silver veins. And so when you're at that lead zinc silver spot, that's exactly where Hecla is. You move in towards Mount Hinton, that's where we've got these demonstrated large scale gold veins. And then when we use the combination of vectoring with our geochemistry and the geophysical survey we did, lo and behold, we found a source of granitic rocks down in a valley bottom. So it was an area that would have been overlooked by prospectors and could represent, the heat pump for this whole district. So that's, could be incredibly exciting. And that target's never seen a drill hole. So
absolutely, no, that is exciting because that could mean like a new discovery, and we've seen what the discovery in the Yukon could do. Snowline, you mentioned Sitka, you mentioned Keno Hill is in production. I don't need to paint the picture here. People get it. And of course, I'm biased. So again, keep that in mind. I got to be careful what I say here. So, Richard, but next steps, they're important. Run us a bit through it. Of course, we defined, you defined some drill targets. We haven't put out an exploration plan yet for 2025. But I don't know. Let's hypothesize here a little bit. Let's draw an ideal world picture. What would Richard do in 2025?
Well, part of our 2024 program was, some more road construction. That's one of the great things about Mount Hinton is the access and infrastructure is, one of the best targets in Yukon, in terms of, having roads from the north and the south on the project. And so one of the southern roads actually cuts right through the large resistivity feature that was identified that we call the GC target. That's the big target down in the valley on Mount Hinton. And so that one we could get in earlier, say May, June. We've modeled out a few drill holes to do an initial test on that structure. So we would like to sink it, 500 to 1,000 meters of drilling into that initially to get a feel of what that intrusion looks like when in fresh core. And then as the snow melts on the vein structures, then we'll be drilling along strike. A number of fans from existing drill pads, so we're not doing big long holes, just testing the strike extent of some of these vein structures to prove that that we've got repeats of ore shoots happening along those structures. And so sort of a multi-phased approach there at Mount Hinton, but definitely looking to be drilling both types of targets there. And then further out on the eastern end of the belt, we haven't really touched on is the Rye project, which we are going to be doing some chip sampling across some of the big sheeted vein structures that we found out there in advance of drilling. And drill permitting there is underway.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Rye. You mentioned it earlier in the intro that we've done some work there, of course. But what's the project status, and B, like what's the reward potential? I don't know, like a new term I just coined here. So
again, so this one historically similarly was known for some of the veins, but this one's got these tin silver veins that were distal to the Pluton. So again, fits this reduced intrusion model. It sits on a magnetic anomaly that is like the classic bullseye, where you've got like a mag low surrounded by a higher mag, which is where the Hornfels contact is between the sediments and the Pluton. And we had some good mappers out there last summer, and they identified a number of sheeted quartz veins within that sort of contact zone. And so we did geochemical surveys. We've got a really nice coincident anomaly there for gold, bismuth, and tellurium, which are the main pathfinders for a snowline type, valley target. And that's really what we're looking for there is how extensive are those sheeted veins, because there's a fair amount of till cover and whatnot, because there's recently been a glacier that receded from the property. And so, under some of that talus and till that it lights up with the geochem. But out on the fringes of that is where we see all the veining. So, if that continues under the big geochem anomaly we have, a similar sized target to a snowline, and it's not far from the road. I think we're only about 15 kilometers off the North Cannell Road, where, Fireweed has a big camp. So that, another ideally located project. And that target has never seen a drill hole. So like I said, we're in the process of drill permitting on that right now. And look forward to some more surface samples early in the season.
No, fantastic. Maybe last question, Richard, you touched on like early in the season. When do you think the season will start? What the snowfall look like?
Yeah, so I mean, that's always hard to know until you get much closer. We are in contact with a number of the placer miners that are working on the Mount Hinton project. They've told us they're going to try to get in late April, so there is a possibility of even May for some of the lower elevation targets. We'll be in touch with them to make sure we're not making a mess of the roads and whatnot. But you could see initial holes at the intrusion-related target as early as May. So basically, we're looking to top up the treasury here in the next couple months to do a financing ahead of the field season. Get a little bit of cash in the treasury for exploration this summer. We've moved up with the price of gold recently. We've got a very tight share structure, only 30 million shares outstanding. So like I said, still sub $10 million market cap. So we're really the cheapest explorer in the belt with the tightest share structure in the belt. And we've got a team behind us that has discovered both the highest grade gold deposits in the history of Yukon. So I think we've got sort of all the right aspects firing for us right now. So it's getting very excited, that's for sure.
Cheap in perspective. I like it. No, that's fantastic. Richard, really appreciate you jumping on here and giving us an update. I think it was timely as well. Lots going on in the markets. As you said, gold is over 4,000 Canadian dollars, which is ridiculous to think about. So it's timely. And of course, Mount Hinton is super perspective. Plus, we got the cherry on top, which could be Rye. So, Richard, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us. And everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Keep in mind, I'm hugely biased. I know I'm saying it for the third time. I hope you're not tired of it yet. But transparency is important to us here at the Gold Newsletter and SOAR Financial. So make sure you pay attention to that. I'm usually excited about it. Like the Valley Discovery or the Valley Target is phenomenal. Really looking forward to putting a drill hole into it and see and prove up some ounces. I got to be careful what I say here, but let's see see if we can do that this summer. That's the plan. Really appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to reach out to myself or Richard anytime. We'll put down the website down below. You can reach out to me on X and LinkedIn and other platforms as well. My messages are open on X, so please do that if you do have any questions. Thank you so much for tuning in, and of course, we'll be back with lots more here on the Gold Newsletter. Thank you so much.